Thank you for listening to the Following Films podcast. Today I'm joined by Joe Russo and Chris Lamont, co-writers of the new film The Inheritance. On the eve of his 75th birthday, billionaire Charles Abernathy invites his estranged children back home out of fear that tonight someone or something is going to kill him. He puts each of their inheritances on the line to ensure they'll keep him alive. I had a great time chatting with Joe and Chris, and an even better time with the film. Just a quick note on the quality of the recording. Towards the end, my microphone started having a minor issue. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but it was picking up a little bit of static. It sounds like my beard is rubbing up against the microphone. That's not what was happening, but that's kind of what it sounds like if you have that kind of just a little bit of distortion. I think it's listenable. Try to get any of it out, but there's a few moments where it does pop up. Just wanted to give you guys a heads up on it. Other than that, I think it's highly listenable, and definitely I had enjoyed the conversation with Joe and Chris. The film will be in theaters and on demand this Friday, July 12th. I hope you enjoy the show. Thanks.
Oh, it's nice to meet you. I've seen you around on the social media sphere before, so it's cool to meet you.
You as well. Yeah, I am somebody who's been following your stuff for a couple of years now, and I was really excited for this one. I just got to ask, with The Inheritance, is this part of a trilogy about how rich people are completely fucked up, and this goes into hard kill and sort of they exist in the same universe?
Soulmates too. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's actually a really funny question. There is a hard kill reference baked into The Inheritance, which is really funny. It probably goes over most people's heads, but one of the companies that they prattle off is the same company that Bruce Willis runs in Hard Kill.
Nice, very good.
There really is some weird DNA there.
It's the Russo Lamont cinematic universe, is what we've called it.
Well, I'm on board for it. I definitely that's the kind of connective tissue I like. It's just the little things there, little Easter eggs that you find.
Yeah. It was. Look, we were. Every name that we were throwing out at the producers for companies, they were like, that exists. So we were kind of like, fuck it, we'll just use a name from one of our previous movies we know is cleared. So
there you go. You already had it cleared. Perfect. Makes it easy. Speaking of names, though, I loved the naming of this family. And I'm somebody who, when I write, I spend way too much time thinking about the names of people. Is that something that you struggled on, or did you just land on this one right away?
You mean the name Abernathy?
Yes, exactly. It's perfect for this family.
Thank you. No, I wish I could tell you the exact origin of it. I mean, when Chris and I were still brainstorming the idea, my go-to composer, John Jasinski, and I, we kind of cracked the initial story and idea, and that's why he's an associate producer on the movie. But when Chris and I were brainstorming it, I think the name Abernathy was there pretty early on. I think we just thought it was just a strong sounding name, a rich sounding name.
I remember that there was an actor that I saw with the last name at one point, and I'm like, that is a super cool name if you're ever doing like a highfalutin Victorian English drama. And so I was happy when somehow this ended up in the name, because I feel like it really kind of helps sort of typify the actual wealth of this family. This is, what you think is old money, but as you come to figure out during the movie, it's a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah, it feels like something out of an Agatha Christie novel, which is what we were going for.
Well, and that's the thing. Despite the, I almost don't even want to say what genre this film is, because it could be so many things in the first 30 minutes, 45 minutes before the film truly reveals what it is and even what the genre is. It has probably more DNA in line with something along the, a Agatha Christie, a Death Trap, something along those lines than it does with the genre kind of thing that you might be assuming this would go into.
And that was by design. But we also didn't want to overstay our welcome and let that drag out too long. Like the movie needed to kick into gear and become what it was going to be. So there was definitely a lot of discussions during development where it was, how long is too long to stretch out the murder mystery before we kind of shift into gear?
Well, it's this wonderful thing that happens with a film like this where you feel like you're getting ahead of it slightly, then it makes a shift and you realize there was a misdirect, you were in the wrong way on this. And then there's certain things that something like when it's revealed what's underneath all the papers on the table.
Mm.
As a child of certain 80s films, I was really hoping that's what I was going to see under there. And so when it does pay off for the thing that you want it to be, it's so fucking satisfying. So, but again, I don't want to give away what this is, but I really think that the well of inspiration for this film is very wide. And in being that wide, it actually makes something that's really unique unto itself. So how the hell do we even describe this film without giving away what it is?
Very, very carefully.
The trailer is like right on the razor's edge here, hoping not to tip any of the scales.
Yeah, but we the log line that we always went with back when we were even pitching the script kind of had to do that too. It was a billionaire who's turning 75 invites his estranged family back to their estate. And he says, "Tonight, I believe someone or something is coming to kill me. And the only people I can trust to keep me alive are my children, because I've put each one of your inheritances on the line. And if I'm dead by dawn, you get nothing." And so it was just intriguing enough that we got a lot of reads off of that. And I think, continuing to walk that razor's edge through the marketing campaign is hopefully going to serve the movie well.
I think so. I think that the less is more that you go into this and you don't know where this is headed. I think that gives you're not insulting the audience with it by saying you have to know everything that's going to happen. For me, I think that this is a film that it is somewhat spoiler proof because of what it does with where it's going, that you could still know where it's headed and still enjoy the hell out of this thing. So I don't think it's a kind of mystery box that you need to keep that tightly wrapped, but it is, I found a lot of joy in discovering everything in that experience. So I wouldn't want to take that away from anyone.
I really, really, really appreciate you saying that.
So when you're making a film, when you're writing a film like this, what's the kernel, the idea? What do you start with? Because for me, it's usually I have like a moment in my mind and then I kind of build out from that, whether if that's the beginning, the middle, the end. It's just there's this one scene or idea or reaction that I'm working from. What was the thing that you had for this?
So when we wrote this originally, it was when we went out with it originally, it was in 2018 when we went out with the screenplay, and that just shows you how long sometimes these movies can take to make. But when we went out with it, it ended up being on this thing called the Blood List, which was the best genre scripts of the year. So that was great for us. But when we were kind of getting into the creative process to write the spec, it was the height of Donald Trump's first term in office. And I think the schadenfreude of what if we could lock a Trump-like family inside a house and have them witness their worst nightmares come to pass was kind of a juicy way into what it could be. And so that's really how it started. And I don't know if it's funny or sad that here we are 6 years later and they're just as relevant, if not more so, after some recent real world news. But I hopefully that tracks and that will be shared by viewers who can kind of see beneath the hood the kind of socio-political messages we were scratching at.
I think the most important thing is that when Joe and I sit down and write, it's not about plot. It's not necessarily about character. The first thing we're really thinking of is more about theme. How does that story that we have within us, the story that we want to share with the audiences, how does it touch a larger, bigger, universal message that we want to send out? And so we really want to always focus on the movies that we're writing or always have elements of it that are bigger than us, that we feel like we as artists are allowed to share with the world, and we're excited to be able to get these stories out to the audiences.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to genre films, we try to find, socio-political questions about the real world things that we're afraid of. We did a movie that came out last fall called Soulmates, which was kind of online dating meets Saw. And, for Chris and I, we're both longtime married people. And so the idea of having to sign up for an online dating service is terrifying to us, as it is to a lot of other people. And so that ended up being a really sticky idea that people could relate to. And I think the same thing here with, a family like the Trumps and greed and power and all the things that come with it. And then naturally, that kind of opens up, defines who the Abernathys are. And then in creating a protagonist, someone who would emerge kind of as our main character, so to speak. And if you can be a main character in an ensemble like this, but someone who basically is the counterpoint to that, someone who's more about
Right.
family, who's more about ideals, and then watching those two characters kind of collide in the service of this theme. That's really kind of how I think we found our way into this one.
Well, it's something that I think goes beyond even that theme of being specific to a Trump family, because this is something that I think whether how intentional it was, there's a level of empathy for these characters in the end, that they were victims for much longer than just when the locks go down in this house, that there are sometimes people that are trappings of the way that they were born, the way that they were raised, that they had, Trump himself, you could look and see his father and say, I have no empathy for that man. I wear my bleeding heart on my sleeve. But if you look at the man that raised him, of course he's a fucked up sociopath. There was no other way around it.
Right. Yeah, no, and that was important too, because obviously these are the characters we're going to be spending time with, and in an Agatha Christie way, watch them kind of get picked off one by one, and you have to find ways to relate to them. So it was interesting trying, how can we get into each one of their backstories in a way that can give us something to grab onto and make them likable, and ultimately it was kind of like developing almost a thematic spectrum for each character, where if one character represented the ideal message we were trying to get across and one was the antithesis, like where do the other characters fall on the spectrum? And I think if you really break down the movie that way, you can kind of see how it worked out in the writing process.
Yeah, and sympathetic characters, get the audiences excited because they do want to relate to the people in your story. And I think we found a really good wellspring with all of the characters. No, I don't think there's any 2D characters really in this story at all.
No, I completely agree that there's everybody in this film is fully realized. There's nobody that feels like a one note character, which is why you're on this end of the interview and I'm on the other, because I would take this opportunity to get on a soapbox and it wouldn't be nearly as entertaining or as fully thought out as this is. And it's really, I think you guys have made something really special here. This is just a hell of a film that I rarely see genre films like this that I could, recommend to my mom. And despite this thing does it goes hard at moments, that I think she would dig into those moments. It's those sort of the underlying themes of this and get something out of it. But I can also watch this with my wife, who would just really love, kind of the more jump scare moments and the more creepy elements of it. And I think that, you made something that could definitely cross over.
Oh, we love to hear that.
To do with the character stuff.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. No, I think that was definitely a goal of the producers. They saw this as being a horror movie that could be shared like that, and they kind of, pushed Alejandro and us in when we were redeveloping it for production to kind of hit those moments and make it that movie. And I think, Chris and I, one movie that we really bonded over was Poltergeist. And that I think is another movie that you can watch with the whole family. So I think there's a really great legacy of horror movies in that space. And, we're happy that you feel that it should, be in that canon.
Well, the best horror movies are ones that you could remove the genre elements and you still have a story worth telling. Yeah. To me, that you could Poltergeist, you absolutely have a story about that family and the struggles of things that are coming between them that you could tell without that being a haunted house. You could have the sort of a story here that's really in its heart. It's not about what's happening that night. It's about sort of this inheritance and about this great deal of wealth and what it does to your worldview and how it completely can screw up generations to come. Not only the individual, but the heirs, the legacy. And it's just, there's a great story here. So
thank you.
Well, thank you both so much for taking the time to do this today. I really do appreciate it. Had a great time with this. Congratulations. I'm definitely looking forward to the next one coming down the pike. I hope this continues to happen, that the Joe Chris expanded universe does continue. And I don't know, maybe the next one, the billionaires are fucked up. You could do a Western this time around or something.
We'll see what we can do. Appreciate it, Chris. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Pleasure to meet you. Take care.
It's hot inside of the sun. I could put you there. And it's hot inside of the sun. I would put you there. Yeah! And it's hot inside of the sun. I would put you there. And it's hot inside of the sun. I would put you there.